Well, and the history of Hollywood and television, for the most part, I mean, you can follow it through from one minority to another to another. When a minority first gets integrated into the mainstream media, if you will, they generally wind up somehow either the villain or a pathetic supporting role or something. And it's only years after that we finally get to treating them just like ordinary people.
Exactly, and that's you know who we are as ordinary people, and going out and just being who we are in society. Like I said, we change people's hearts and minds one person at a time. And
yeah, but as a society also, when we look at what Hollywood and television are coming up with, and they give us these initial portrayals, we can speed up the clock and make the time shorter.
Right.
By saying, no, this is not appropriate.
Right.
I've seen you do this to gays, I've seen you do it to immigrants, I've seen you do it to whatever. I don't want to see you do it to trans people or anybody else ever again. Exactly. And you know, instead of going through this long process, you're going to tell me the truth and show some good examples right from the beginning. And if a movie comes out, if a television show comes out, you know, like with those restaurants, to be a civil person and stand up and say, no, this is not acceptable. Free speech in the United States of America was not created so that people could belittle others. It was created to allow room for disagreement. One of the things I'm proud of on the safety issue with society is that by going out and doing what I did out in North Carolina, I can go back there and I have so many friends that are not just in the GLBT community, but are in, you know, in what we would call the straight community. Well, they know you as a person. They know me as a person, and I've gotten the respect from them. So I can go back to that community today and not have to worry about somebody maybe throwing some sort of negative connotation towards me or treating me like garbage because I'm a transgender individual. I've actually worked in that community. I made myself known, and I actually did change that community. By being willing to stand up, speak out, and occasionally, frequently, that's a very uncomfortable position to be in. It is, especially when you're talking to somebody. For example, one time I called up a manager because of a cashier who intentionally, and I knew it was intentional, asked for my ID. To make sure that the name on my credit card was actually who I was, and to make sure that the picture and everything fit. And I wound up calling over the manager and calling her out. Well, of course, then the manager wanted to make this big scene of it, so it turns into this higher voice type thing. And the reason why he was trying to embarrass me because I was a transgender individual. Well, unfortunately, it didn't work for him because I kept my cool, and actually it made him look like an idiot. But since that time, I did go in after that incident happened, and actually I was very well treated as anybody else who came in there. And the manager learned that, you know, trying to make me look like a fool actually made him look like a fool. But it was a bad situation because anybody in that restaurant, after I was done, could have followed me out, could have made negative statements towards me. I could have been treated horribly or whatever. Instead, it made a difference. Well, and that's another thing to think about as a society, that when you stand by and say nothing while someone belittles another person, that you, in a sense, become an accomplice in the possibility of further violence following that person out the door. That when we stand up and say, this is not appropriate conduct, this is not civil, and I will not stand for it. I don't care who the person is. It's not about the person. It's about your behavior. You know, that stand alone, which is nothing more than a stand against violence, is something everybody can do. And it makes the world a safer place for everyone. Exactly. If you go ahead and just... We're unfortunately running out of time again. So, concluding thoughts. Last impressions you want to leave people with. Last impressions I want to leave with is, first of all, the transgender individual themselves have to accept who they are and be confident in themselves in order to have a safe space or a safe environment. And the second one is for that individual to go out into society to, you know, have their friends, have their family, whoever supports them,
and let those people learn from that individual, or even a stranger out there who asks about them. Let them learn about the person, not about the classification of the person, but the person themselves, because that's actually going to be the main way that we are going to be able to help that person understand that we're human beings first before anything else, and that we deserve the right to live the way we want to live and to be safe as everybody else wants the right to be safe.
Well, in a sense, trans people are, in a way, comparative to the canary in the mine. When when the canary was down in the mine, if the canary got sick, they knew the air was bad and it was time to get out. If trans people are safe in your neighborhood and in your community, it's a fair bet that everyone else is safe too. If the trans person is not safe, watch your back, because it could be you next.
Yes, definitely. And you just have to remember common sense in your environment. You know, those are going to make a huge difference.
Yeah. But this is a reason for society to embrace the trans person also.